Hello, hello, and welcome to PD and Your PJs. I'm so excited to be here with you tonight to talk about the steps that you need to take in order to start using Seesaw's Activity Library. We've made so many great updates in the last few months, and we're just really excited to have you with us tonight so you can learn how to use this amazing resource. Quick introduction though, my name is Julie. I was a high school ELA teacher for 18 years, and now I'm on the teacher community team at Seesaw. I would love it if you could take a minute and find me on Twitter. If you're a Twitter person, find me. I'm at EdTechJulieJ and give me a follow. I'd love to interact with you there. I share lots of tips and resources related to Seesaw. And then of course you can connect with our whole team on Twitter at Seesaw. Now, mainly I want to remind you too that this particular training is just about the activity library and how to use activities with your students. So if you are brand new to Seesaw and you've never created an account or added students or created a class, I'd love for you to participate in our brand new to Seesaw trainings. Those are hands-on and they're just for your grade level. Now, I included the link there. You can see the link at the bottom of the slide. You're getting these slides coming to you in your email in just a few hours. So if you open these slides and you click on that link, you could go right to one of those trainings and participate in that if you haven't already. Okay, so like I said, we're going to be talking about the activity library. And what I'm going to do for a second is I'm just going to pop into the question box. I'm going to leave this slide up on the screen and I'm going to double check just to make sure that everybody is hearing okay and doing okay. Yep, looks good. Just wanted to make sure we're all good and ready to go before we get into the main content of our presentation. Yeah, so we're talking about the activity library, and you can see kind of a screenshot of that there to the right of your screen. And the main thing we're excited to tell you about that is it's a resource created by teachers just like you, and it's designed to help you get ideas for how to use Seesaw in your classroom. And also as a benefit, it's going to save you lots of time. So if you've ever been thinking about, I want to try Seesaw, I'm ready to have my students use Seesaw, but I just don't know what they would do, you can browse thousands of activities, like I said, contributed by teachers just like you, so you know they've been tried with students before in the classroom, and you are able to then look by grade level and by subject to find something just right for your students. And then, like I said, as a bonus or a benefit, what I think you're going to find is that you can lug fewer papers home, so you don't have to lug those big binders or folders, because Seesaw's Activity Library is going to let you see what your students know and see all of that in one spot. So I'm so excited to introduce you to that tonight, and I'll be on hand to answer questions at the end. So you can see a question box probably if you pull out your little drawer in GoToWebinar. You can type something in if you have a question about activities. We'll save a few minutes for those at the end of the presentation. But here's our topics tonight. We're going to talk about how you can browse, save, and share in the activity library. So those are our three main steps. But first, I'm going to add a bonus step. This is kind of like a fourth step. I'm going to tell you the very first thing you would need to do for sure if you're going to start using the activity library is make sure your Seesaw app is updated. And that's because we made a lot of improvements, and especially this feature, the activity library, was updated over the summer, like in June of 2018. So if you have had the app Seesaw on your tablet or phone and you've never updated it, make sure you're using the latest version. You're going to want to be looking in your app store for something that says Seesaw 6.0 or higher. And that's going to be whether you're on like an Android tablet or on an iOS device. You're just going to want to go to your device's app store and update that. And something I'm going to tell you too, if your students can't see the activities tab, we have people submit, help tickets about this pretty frequently and saying, I have activities working for me, but my students can't see it. It might be that their apps aren't updated either. And you may have to reach out to some IT people at your school or in your district to do that for you. It depends on how your school has set their permissions on your devices. But to see these activities and to have them work properly, you're going to want to make sure you're on Seesaw 6.0 or higher. Okay, so just some tech help there before we get too much further into the presentation. Of course, if you're using Seesaw on the web, like from a computer screen, like I am going to do for you tonight, app.seesaw.me, everything's good to go and you don't need to worry about updates. But if you're using a phone or a tablet, you might need to update your app. Okay, so let's get going, and I'm going to live demo for you for most of the presentation tonight. So I'm only going to be in these slides for a few more minutes, and then I'm going to be demonstrating for you live. What I want to tell you is when you first open your Seesaw class or create a Seesaw class, if you're starting brand new and setting up for the first time with students, you might see a prompt that looks something like this, a reminder that Seesaw has ideas ready to go for you, and you could click that blue button there and go right to the activity library. You might see that waiting for you in your class if you're joining or getting in your class for the first time. And Seesaw is going to suggest some ideas that look like they would probably be appropriate for your students based on the grade level that you've set your class. But the main way you're going to get to the activity library, if you don't see this button, if you'll only see this when your class is empty. If you have a few things in your class already and you're ready to get to the library, you're going to get to that from that big green add button. And of course you do other things from there too, and you can see the list there. You can post something right to a student's journal. You can create your own activity, and we're not actually going to talk about that in this particular presentation, but this is the spot that will take you to the activity library, that big green add button to browse the library. And that's our first topic tonight. So you can browse by grade, subject, or you can type in a keyword, and that's really helpful too. If you're doing fractions in your class and you know you just want to find something that's specific to fractions, you can type that right in. And then we're also going to talk about how when you tap that like or heart button, that's going to save it to your library. So that's how you save activities. And I'm going to live demo that for you in just a few minutes. I also want to tell you that we have some collections in the library. So you'll see those tiles, those colorful tiles there, those rectangles. Those show that there's collections there that you can click on. And this is my favorite one. It's the Getting Started collection. So you'll see that for your grade level, no matter what grade level you have selected for your class. Seesaw is going to recommend a Getting Started collection that will give you some activities that are perfect for introducing your students to Seesaw and a great way to get started with the activity library. And the cool thing about those Getting Started collections is that they really are designed to introduce one of Seesaw's creative tools at a time. So you can see just from this screenshot here that these activities kind of focus on a different thing. Like this one focuses on the camera or photo tool, and here you can see the drawing tool, the note tool here. We have some audio recording over a photo here, and then this introduces the link tool. So you can see, and of course they'll look a little bit different depending on what grade level that you're using. This is a screenshot from a 4th grade class, but 5 activities to orient your students right to Seesaw. And I'm just recommending to you, if you're a Seesaw user, maybe you've used Seesaw a few years, but you've never experimented with our activity library yet, these Getting Started collections, they look like this, are a great place to start. And they're going to be right at the top of your screen, whatever class you're in, when you're whatever grade you're in when you're browsing the library. So really love these Getting Started collections to introduce one tool at a time. So this is the part that I'm really looking forward to, and that's where I'm going to do some live demo for you. Okay, remember we said we're going to talk about browsing, saving, and sharing. So I'm going to try to demo all of those things for you in a demonstration Seesaw class. So I'm going to pop out of my slides to do that. Let me do this. Okay, so you guys know, if you've joined me before for any trainings, that we have some classes that we use for workshops and PTs and trainings, and we use those with grown-ups mostly, but we have examples of student work here too. So we use these to train, just like I'm using them with you in this live training. So this is a class that's set to 4th grade, and I'm going to try to demo for you what it looks like, not only to go into the library as a teacher, but I'll also try to switch devices for a second and show you what it looks like to respond to an activity as a student. So remember, you're wanting to look when you're in a teacher's view. I'm in as the teacher. I'm in a class called Mrs. V's 4th grade. As a teacher, you want to hit that big green add button to browse the activity library. If you're logged in as a student, you're not going to see the option to browse the library. Students don't browse the library. That's for teachers, so students won't go to this screen, okay? So I am going to browse the activity library, and you're looking at a demo right now. I'm going to go right into Seesaw's library, and you're going to see what that looks like. You can see this blue bar at the top. It tells me that I'm in the activity library, and then it's going to let me browse. Now, I'm in a 4th grade class. That's what I was demoing from. So Seesaw is setting this search kind of at the 4th grade level, but I can switch to any grade here. So I can filter by any grade that I want. Okay, so you have choices here from pre-K all the way to 12th grade. And I'm going to tell you, when I'm searching for things, I oftentimes switch it to all because I just want to see what there for a certain keyword. But you can switch it to any grade. You have lots of choices for subjects here. And then, of course, you have these collections at the top, like we talked about. They're kind of noted by those rectangle tiles. I'm making my screen a little bit bigger for you, so it looks a little better as you're watching me present. So you have these collections. Remember, when you see a gray bar like this, that means you can scroll. So anytime you see that gray bar, feel free to scroll. And I have a lot of popular activities. Depending on what grade level I select here, it'll show me the popular activities for that particular grade. So you can see some things that other teachers are trying and using. And this just is really cool because teachers have created and submitted all these activities, and so you really know that they're being tried. We also feature some authors, and again, these are just teachers who are contributing to our library, so it's awesome to know that they're using these activities just like you. And you have some recent ads, and I'm just scrolling down because I want to show you that there are more collections down here. So if I don't scroll down, I'm afraid I would forget to tell you, you have some collections here at the top, but then the farther you scroll, you see these other collections. And remember, you can always use that scrolling bar to go through and see some other options. And you have some other options for browsing here. It's the same search terms that you have up here, you know, like I can filter by grade or by subject, but you also have those buttons that will do that at the bottom of the screen. So now I'm still in 4th grade here, but if I switched it to all, and then I typed that word that I was mentioning a second ago, I said fractions, let's see what would come up. I'm filtering by all grade. I've typed in fractions because that's something that I know I want to look for. And then look at all of these options that come up. So I have lots of ways that I can browse the library. So something else we are going to talk about in this particular demonstration is not just browsing, but how would I save the activities that I like or that I want to use with my students? So I just want to remind you, it's so simple. All you're really looking for is that like button, that pink heart, and anything you want to use with your students. In order to like save it to your own library, you need to give it the pink heart. Okay, and I hope you noticed it as I did it in real time. I might undo it and then do it again. What I want you to watch for is how these 3 dots pop up and this bar down here pops up. So I'm going to unheart it so you can see that in real time. Whoops. I don't know if it will do that for me. Okay, I'll do it on another activity. It's prompting me to add it to a collection. I'll do it here. Watch the bottom right here, okay? Watch this space right here where I'm twirling my mouse. I'm gonna give it a like, and then the cool thing here is Seesaw is gonna remind me that I can go ahead and let my students respond to that by sharing with my class, or because I have saved it now to my library, and I like to kind of think of that heart button as kind of like a save button. You're kind of saying you want to save it to use it with your students. But now I also have this option. This is what I could have done a minute ago to unheart it. I could have just removed it from my library. But what I can do is add it to a collection. So if I want to group some things together, I can. Or this will be useful at some point too, and we're not going to go into too much detail about this tonight, but if I want to change just a few things about this activity, like I like this activity that Kim has created, but I want to change a little bit of it, I can kind of just make a copy for myself, and then I can edit it and change it however I want. And that's really helpful because maybe there's just a few extra instructions you want to give to your students, or maybe you want to change the image, but to get to this option, you have to give it the heart. You have to like it, okay? So that's what I just wanted to remind you about. You want to make sure that you're clicking that heart button on anything that you want to use with your students, because that's what's going to give you those extra options, those options to then customize it, to edit it, or to share it with your students. So I can practice it one more time, show you how I'm doing it. Remember, I don't have those options showing up for me now. Okay, those 3 dots are going to show up after I give it the heart. Okay, so I've given it, this looks like a really cool activity too. It's an app smash, looks really neat. I've given it the heart. I can go ahead and share it with my class right now, or I can even add it to a collection, like I can group it together with some other language arts activities for myself, or I could change some words by choosing to copy and edit it. Okay, so I really want to just emphasize that using this heart or like button is really saving it to your library. Okay, so now that I'm ready to use it with my students, we're going on to that third topic. We've talked about browsing and saving. Now I want to make sure I get it to my students. And you know, a minute ago, it popped up with the button here that said go ahead and share it with your students right away. Or you'll always see this green button here too that says share. And when it says share, that's really how you get it to your students. So you're sharing the activity with your students so they can respond to it. So I can click that share button. This is going to get it to my students. Okay, so what I have the option to do here is share it with more than one of my classes at a time. I'm in that 4th grade class right now, right? So these are all demo classes that I use. I can share it with my 4th, but maybe I want to share it with another one of my classes. That's fine. I can do it both at the same time. Or if I only wanted to share it with certain students, I would click that button and only pick a couple of students' names. That's a really too. And now I can share it with all of the students in my class or classes. If you teach younger students, maybe you only have one Seesaw class, but I taught big kids, so I had a different class for every hour. So that would have been a really handy feature for me when I was in the classroom. So I have shared it with my students. Let's see in real time how that works. Let's review really quickly. It was this app smash activity that I found. That's what I shared with my students. Now let's see if we can see that activity waiting for me in the demo class that I'm logged into as a student. I'm going to switch devices here. Let's see if I can make that work. Okay, so I'm on my computer and iPad here at the same time. So I'm in the demo class, but I'm now in as a student. Remember before I was in Mrs. V's class as the teacher. Now I'm the student. What I'm going to see is if that activity is waiting for me in the activities tab. Okay, look. It's there. There's that app smash. You watched me watching me live tonight. That's the actual time that it is. So you know that I did that just now and I shared it with my student. And what you're looking at is a student view. I'm projecting now from an iPad, pretending that I'm a student. And I just wanted to show you this because I think that's helpful for teachers sometimes. In a lot of my trainings and webinars, I'm always in a teacher view, but I wanted to show you this is what it looks like for your students. Remember, this is my journal tab. I'm a student in a journal tab. I can scroll through here. Here's all the names of the students in my class on the right side there. That's my class roster there. As a teacher, you know, I'm the one with a QR code. And here's all the things that are showing up in the feed. But as a student, I'm going to want to hit that activities tab. And I can see that my teacher has shared the activity with me called app smash adjective activity. You guys watched me do it. So I'm ready to respond. I'm ready to respond to that activity as a student. So what I do, the button says add. It doesn't say respond, but what you're really doing is responding to the activity that your teacher has shared with you. So I'm going to say I'm ready to add. And as a student, look at this awesome option I have here. I can look at the instructions so I know exactly what to do. Those will appear at the top there. They never go away. So as a student, if you're giving them really detailed instructions, they can always take a moment to look at those as they're completing the activity. And then as a student, I can choose which tool I want to use to respond to that. And I think that's a very specific app smash task that I would maybe be in some other apps to do. But I'm using one of Seesaw's tools. I'm clicking the green check mark when I'm done. I have all these options to annotate, of course. And then I've completed the activity. So I'm going to say what my name is. I'm just demoing as a pretend student right now. So I'm saying I'm Claire. And then and this is of course in an environment where students are sharing devices. It might not be that way in your class, but for the sake of this demonstration, that's how this class is set up. And now I'm in my student view. And what I can see is that the student Claire, that's me, has completed or responded to the activity and it's waiting for teacher approval if you have it set that way in your class. So that's a really cool option. You can kind of see from in this training what it looks like from a teacher's perspective, which is what I've been showing you most of the time tonight, but I just wanted to pop over in the student view to show you what it looks like as the student is responding to the activity. Okay, so we've talked about browsing and saving and sharing, but I want to remind you of one other thing as it pertains to sharing. not only can you share it with students, but you can also share an activity with other teachers. So this App Smash activity that I found, if I really wanted to make sure that some other folks could see it, I could share a link with them. I could send it basically just in an email to them. I could share it on social media and have an embed code if I wanted to put it on a web page or website. So I have some other options. And if I'm in a Seesaw for Schools school, I can put it in our school library so everyone can see it there and can use it. So that's actually really cool too. Like if you find something that you know some of your teacher friends could use, you could share it with them that way. Okay, I'm going to pop into my slides, and I am saving a few minutes for questions here, so feel free to type them in. I wanted to give you this video training here too. We're not going to watch a video within this video, but I wanted you to have it as a resource in case later you want to share these slides with other teacher neighbors or friends. I wanted you to have something that you could use as a tutorial for how to share activities with your students. It's kind of what I did in a live demo for you tonight, but if you want to share these slides with someone, at least they could see that there. I also wanted to show you this. If you're in a school where you're not using the Seesaw for Schools library, you might see this option too, to email this activity to other teachers. So when the other teachers button is selected, you see this option to email. And if you click that, this is what that email would look like. And that's actually also a really great option. So if you're not using the Seesaw for Schools school library and you have that's really neat if you found something that you liked in your class and you want to share it with another teacher. I also wanted to give you this info too before we wrap up, because people are thinking about this at this time of the presentation, usually wondering how many activities can I use in Seesaw. So if you're using free Seesaw, you can have 100 activities and 2 collections. If you're using Seesaw Plus, you can have 500 activities and 10 collections. And if you're using Seesaw for Schools, you can have unlimited activities. And you also then get the benefit of the school activity library. So like if a first grade teacher in your school has created a bunch of activities and they want to share them with everybody in their district or school who are on their plan, they can do that through the Seesaw for Schools school activity library, which is really nice. So this slide is just waiting here for you as a resource. So later, if you need to consult it, you can. We didn't talk about creating activities in this particular training. We're diving into that topic in another webinar. But if you do create your own activities, here's how you can access the icon shortcuts. That's how you get the little images in your instructions. You just have to type in these kind of like little codes to get these icons to appear. So here's a link for how to do that. And then this is a really cool printable. If you want to print it and hang it somewhere, it's helpful for you if you are creating your own activities for students. It's not important if you're just browsing the activity library and you want to use the activities that someone else has created. You don't necessarily need to know these, but if you're creating your own activities, it's super helpful. I also want to remind you, as always, that if you're stuck on something related to activities or anything else, stop by help.seesaw.me. We have a pretty robust help center. You have 3 different ways you can ask a question here besides all these helpful buttons here at the bottom. So that's your first stop. Anytime you're struggling with something related to Seesaw, go ahead and visit help.seesaw.me. You'll find a lot of different ways to get help. As we wrap up tonight, and I'm still going to save some time for questions, but make sure when a survey pops up on your screen that you take a minute or 2 to give us some feedback. We really value your opinions and feedback about these trainings, and we use that to help make our presentations better. So feel free to give me some honest feedback. I updated this slide too because I wanted to include the links for these 2 upcoming webinars. Remember, you are getting the slides and the recording coming your way in an email in about 2 hours. So when you open these slides, if you want to register for these upcoming trainings that go a little more in detail about creating activities and sharing activities, you can click those links and register for those. This is my reminder here to just tell you too that we're very active on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So we hope you can connect with us in one of those spots. We love talking with you in those spaces and seeing what your students are doing with Seesaw. So don't hesitate to reach out to us there. I think what I'm going to do is pause our recording right now and then hop into the question box and see what's waiting for me there and see if I can give you any help as you're getting started with activities. Thanks for joining me tonight. Talk again soon. Bye-bye.